I sketched this the other day. I shall call it the Every Texture Muffin. Why have I called it that? Well, that's basically because it's going to be a muffin with every texture in or on it. We're going to have fluffy, we're going to have sticky, we're going to have slimy, we're going to have chewy, we're going to have creamy, we're going to have foamy, we're going to have fluffy, and we're going to have crispy, plus a bonus sticky slimy thing in a syringe for absolutely no reason. Mission accepted? I think so, but we're going to have a lot of fun today. And I think ultimately the dream is to have one megabyte at the end with all of those 8 textures going on. Texture 1 is a nice, easy start. All right, so fluffy is obviously going to be the cake. To be fair, I think it's more like 7 textures. The one with the candy floss later on, kind of like a different type of fluffy to the cake that we're going for. I guess this one is spongy, right? So a nice generic vanilla muffin mix. Simple start, let's get them baked. Yeah, I need it to be a muffin. I need it to be big because of everything else that we're putting on there. I want there to be enough space. Just like baking other cakes, I will be putting a bamboo skewer in to make sure that it comes out clean. And actually, ironically, at the end, our candy floss or cotton candy, wherever you are in the world, we might use that to support our cloud of foamy, fluffy... What texture is candy floss? I was going to say furry, generally. That is my 8th texture. My diagram is wrong. Yeah, so I'm now going to class the candy floss as fluffy / furry, but it's very different fluffy to what the sponge is going to be. And also I've realised that I can add chunky, so some actual chocolate chip pieces in with our sticky, because if I put the chocolate chip chunks in with the fluffy, then they would soften and not be chunky. It's a good job I did fill them high because they have shrunk down. However, we're only going to need from the top, we're going to cap that off. Very much aware that taking this off is going to make it look more like a big cupcake than a muffin, but I suppose that's basically what a muffin is, isn't it? Well, unless you're at McDonald's. So this is a fun little kitchen gadget. You might want to call it Coursome, because it basically will core out a cupcake, and you've got this pusher thing. Let's have a look. Oh yes. Coursome. I might make it slightly bigger. I feel like there's a few things going on in here that I feel justifies it maybe being widened slightly with a knife. All right, texture 2. Yes, next layer is sticky, but I've just added in chunky, and those chunks are chocolate chip chunks. So I went for peanut butter because you kind of have that and it does get sort of stuck to the roof of your mouth. That with some chocolate chunks is going in. It's actually chunky peanut butter too, so I don't really need the chocolate chips, but I just kind of wanted to have its own separate flavor and texture as well. And it's not like they don't go hand in hand that well, but you can sort of see how sticky this is. Yeah, let's get that in there. Oh, nice. Nice, nice, nice. It does actually feel like this is meant to be. We're picking up pace now. Next texture. For the slimy, I was mulling over maybe soaking that cored sponge that we'd taken out into some like fluid or something like that, or even some aloe vera cubes, but then I realised jelly would be brilliant. A very popular brand here in the UK sell cubes like this, which I was mulling over, a little bit like the aloe vera. I could just stick a dice in there. I used to have a friend that would actually eat this, and it really is as bright and as vibrant as it's showing on the camera there. Wow, look at that. But it's actually concentrated. You're supposed to dilute it down considerably. When my friend used to just buy it as a snack when we were like hanging out at the park, he would just be sitting there munching on this. I mean, I don't even know how bad that is. That would have been... Oh wow, okay, yeah, that's probably not great for him. But of course you can actually buy it slightly ready-made like this, which is only 10 calories, that's much better. Oh my gosh. I just wish I made a massive one now and just shoved that in the core just like that. However, it does get slightly wider the more it goes down. If I just turn this over, oh, it's sort of like a slinky in some ways. I should be able to just cut a disc of this and shove that into the cake like that. Oh wow. Our slimy layer is in there. That with our peanut butter layer is probably the 2 easiest textures today. I know you told your friend you're not okay. I was going to just do some Haribo, some gummy bear sweets, maybe some laces, but I thought I've never made homemade fruit leather. And before you ask, I don't have a sofa of that in the house, but we can make it with a dehydrator. I'm about to fall over. Remember that scene from Dirty Dancing? I carried a watermelon. I carried a dehydrator. You can actually make it in the microwave, the air fryer, the oven. It's a little bit bodged like that, but this is a dehydrator. I've used it about 3 times as entirety. I've had it for about 6 years. Anyhow, with that machine, we can make actual fruit leather, slow dried, and I'm going for strawberry. I'm not going to need much for this example. However, if you're using a big tower dehydrator like me, and that might be something I've been thinking about overnight, spoilers, you might as well make the most of it and dehydrate a lot of stuff. The only other thing to say, I've got a gadget for squeezing a lemon as well right by me, but I'm just doing it, I just feel like I've got to do a little bit by hand. This video is heavily construction today, folks, and I quite like it. It's giving me vibes back to my old job of a quantity surveyor, where people used to tell me how many bricks they laid, and I used to argue with them and tell them to do it for half the price, and they'd be like, I laid 50 bricks, and I'd be like, no, you laid 49. Lots of stories there, but it was a fun job. But one thing to bear in mind, which is what helps with the acidity from a lemon when you dehydrate things, particularly with strawberries, with the water effectively being extracted from it, it actually makes it sweeter. So once we whiz this up, however sweet this mix is, it will actually be considerably sweeter than whatever this is. And that's actually a little bitter because of the lemon. So I'm quite happy with that because that will taste way sweeter. It's like anything with moisture or water in it, like a bathtub or a swimming pool. You take that water out of it, it tastes a lot sweeter. And for those of you that aren't sure, that is a joke. This machine, I think, was about 25 quid. It's not too bad, and you can stack it so high. And this is just one of the levels. And I'm just gonna pour onto some baking parchment. Now, it did come with one free dehydrator sheet. Now, I think all it was heavily waxed baking parchment like this. I don't know where those sheets are, and I think this should work. What a lovely phrase, I think this should work. A phrase that emits confidence and a considerable batch of uncertainty, which is a fair way of describing how I'm feeling for this entire video. I was just thinking I could do this for a live stream. Dehydrating, we'd be here for like hours. If you're interested, the live streams at the moment are happening on Twitch every single week, typically a Friday. I will probably be releasing the videos on demand, which you can watch back on Twitch too, but on YouTube too soon. But I will still from time to time be streaming on YouTube at the same time. It's got 0, 1, 2, 3. 1 is a really slow dehydration mode. That's a nice noise to leave out overnight. As you go higher, as you can hear, it kicks in a lot more, so it would dehydrate faster, but it's not really designed for that. Those higher numbers are things for like flours and jerky and stuff like that. So now we need to wait for 10 hours. Fancy a chat? Well, you know what? I don't, because not this layer. Not this layer. This layer, yes. And this layer, I did exactly the same last night. In fact, last night, I actually sieved it as well, but somehow, some of the seeds are still there. This is the fruit leather, and I mean, it's curled up slightly there. It looks like it's actually welded on. So I really think I should have used the dehydrator sheets. But this is gonna be like my tongue, my overlap, my quilt, my blanket for our every texture muffin. It was exactly the same quantities other than being sieved, like I say, but look at the difference in colour. It's the same thing. But, oh my gosh, I was really worried. Look, the paper has been stained. It's coming off. I peeled it off a bit too aggressively. It's got a couple of holes in it. It'd make a good face mask. Ah. Chewy, well in fact, let me just check. Oh, that is sweet. This is cool, we can sort of cover those other textures with it. But then what I wanted to do was actually drape it slightly over so you can actually see. There we go, we might have to do that to 2 of them. So we can actually see that there is, when we look at it from the side profile, once it's all done, there is the fruit leather on it. Oh my word. What is this becoming? I love doing videos like this. It's so fun. I really want to eat that, but not yet. So next one is going to be a creamy layer, and I was mulling over maybe doing this as a sort of mousse, but I wanted to sort of revert it back with like a cream cheese style frosting for like that sort of creamy element, whereas the mousse is more airy, which we will hopefully get with a sort of foam in a bit. So this should be nice and standard, and as normal as we can hopefully hope for a little cake, or a big multi-textured one. All right, in that bowl is some cold double cream, and this is head whisk. Gonna add in some full fat Philadelphia, basically some cream cheese, some icing sugar, and I just want to give it a bit of a chocolate contrast with the cocoa from Nutella. So chocolate and hazelnuts. Well, that was a little fast, whoops. See how thick that is? That's exactly how I want it. Plus, that's gonna go in my fridge until it's needed. Thinking about it for crunchy, one of the ingredients I'm using, I could just sprinkle that on top, or I could just use nuts, but we are gonna do some brittle, maybe some coins, maybe some shards. We'll see what happens. All right, in the words of Captain Hook, I'll get you, pan. I had to go get this pan from our kitchen in the house. Water and sugar. And I'm not entirely sure why. I know I could Google it, but if anyone wants to remind me in the comments to let other people know as well, we don't typically stir this. Maybe it's something to do with the crystallization of the sugar and stuff. I can't remember. To keep my mind off of this, I'll show you what's gonna go in it. Well, this actually will give it a little bit of crunch too. These are some salt flakes. I'm running low, I need to get a new tub. But for ultimate crunch, I was gonna get cereal and then nuts. Now, as in the cereal, I'd have thought, ooh, honey nut cornflakes. Why not? That is really going to give some crunch. With like the sugar structure sort of changing as it warms up. I love the bubbles when you simmer sugar like this. They're almost like frog spawny. They're bubbles, but they hold there a lot longer. It's like insanely mesmerizing to look at. I love it. But once that's darkened in color, we're going to do this. So there's our bubble. Look, you can see the brown in there. I'm just going to slide this in, and I will stir this around. Oh, you cheeky thing. Should we just make some honeycomb instead? Beautiful, right. Now I might try and just do a little disc like there, or maybe a couple just to give me a bit of chance. And then I'm gonna pour the rest onto here. There is no reason why I've lined this pan, even though it's lined with my Silpat, absolutely no reason whatsoever. So it will set quite quick. So we do need to get these things in there. So the salt flakes and those cornflakes. It's still gonna be very, very hot, but in the space of literally a minute there, that has firmed up already, so you need to top it fast. But that is our crunchy honey nut brittle done. I don't really have much to say about this step. This is some maple syrup, sticky as well. I thought this would be quite funky. I've seen this a few times where this is a clean syringe. I am taking some maple syrup and we're gonna inject it into the cake, okay? That's literally, in fact, I might go all the way up just for the time being. I'm not sure, because we're gonna prod that straight in. I don't know whether it hit the jelly or the peanut butter bit whatsoever, but I just like that idea of an actual flavor burst. It was either that or I was gonna like push it all over it. And we've got 2 more textures to go. Fair to say those cakes are just over to one side looking rather confused, but we're nearly there for the epic build. We've done so much. Next up is the bonus furry / secondary fluffy layer, candy floss. I've never made it my own from scratch other than a machine, but you can actually use a saucepan to do it, and I'd really, really like to give that a go. Maybe not today, but unless you're at a fair, in a UK supermarket, these are really hard to get hold of, very, very seasonal. Yet you go into a random hardware store and it's blooming everywhere. I could have bought this and a screwdriver. Oh, wow. Oh, they've actually done it in 2 colors. Oh, let's try the blue one just as a bit of an experiment. Because, I mean, this is effectively, that is really fluffy, to be fair. It's very fibrous, isn't it? It's just sugar strands. If I just wedge it on there and compress it. Yes! I think I like that, actually. You might actually do. Why has it got a mouth? But for like the furry-like texture, which is, again, like a sort of end up being a bit of a bonus one, I'd be really interested to know what you would do. Keep it clean. So our last one for foam right at the end, a tin of chickpeas. We're not gonna use the chickpeas. We're going to use the fluid from it with a little bit of sugar and vanilla to create a foamy looking meringue thing that I might chef's blowtorch. I don't know, I might do a little bit. I'm really worried about this because it will probably look good for a little bit, but it could destabilize quite quickly. All right, one of my favorite gadgets, the can colander. Particularly good for this. The smell is always very pungent with this. Some sugar in there and a smidgen of vanilla extract. Just a reminder, that's roughly what we were trying to achieve. This now does look like a tongue, but we have achieved the chewy fruit layer, and I'm well impressed with that. That was really fun. Some of the moisture from the jelly has actually absorbed into the fruit leather, so it has made it slightly softer, but I don't mind. I'm gonna pile on some of that Nutella cream topping, and I can confirm that is absolutely delicious. Our brittle piece there. Oh, that looks good. Our syringe. Oh my gosh, did you see the bubble? I'm going to pump that in slightly. Hopefully it doesn't. Oh my gosh, it literally came out a little bit. Okay, that is very cool. I need some space for the meringue foam. Down that goes. Oh, I don't know whether to toast it or not because that is properly foamy. Look at that. But these peaks, I might be able to maintain that mohawk. Let's see if we can do it. And hopefully not catch the fruit leather. Oh yes. Just a little bit. Oh yes! Alright, that'll do. I want to keep the rest of it foamy. Oh, that's what it looks like, a shoe. So we've got fluffy, chunky, sticky, slimy, chewy, creamy, crunchy, foamy, extra slimy, sticky from the maple syrup injection, and a final cloud of fluffy, furry candy floss. Oh my word. Check that out, that is blooming awesome. I hope I'm not the only person in the internet. Oh my gosh, no! Stay there, mate. I hope I'm not the only person in the world that excited right now. That is very, very cool. Folks, I give you the first and last ever, possibly, every texture muffin. What an adventure. I love the fact that it's got a tongue. So in true fashion, this is how you eat it if you've never seen one eaten before. This is actually quite a moment because you might not ever see it eaten again. We've pumped that maple syrup in there. The candy floss needs to come. I don't want to eat a stick. This might go absolutely everywhere. I'm going to try and eat all of these textures. Come here, Brittle. In one big old bite. And I can't. I've got to try, can't I? Oh my gosh, look at that. It looks so bizarre, but that is absolutely delicious. The cake, I think it was the peanut butter at the end that just kind of soothed it all together. I know I have the majority of it on my face. The Nutella flavoured cream, the furriness of the candy floss, it kind of went quite quickly. We kept the sweetness of that, the chewiness from the fruit leather. I don't know if you heard it, but there was a significant crunch from our salted cereal brittle. The jelly was good, but I would say the standout was that peanut butter and all surrounded by that soft, fluffy cake holding it all together. And speaking of holding it all together, I'm so surprised it hasn't fallen apart. Wow, it's truly a tasty experience, but genuinely, and I think it's the zing of the jelly as well. That would really hit then. One of the nicest things I have ever tasted. And it's bizarre, it doesn't feel very filling. That is a gigantic muffin. It's not got some of the greatest, healthiest things in it, but we've learnt a lot today. So many textures, and it was like a real journey in the mouth. I'm going to write this recipe up in full, so if you really want to try this, you can. I love like the tie-dye effect it's done in the middle. Look at that. Truly, truly fantastic. I don't know. It shouldn't have worked that well. I just wanted to have some fun today, but that was genuinely, I can't think of anything else that I would have wanted to add to that to make that taste as good as it has. I might have missed one or two textures, maybe some orange zest, but I loved it all. If you do decide to try this, we might have invented something. I'd love to know your feedback, and if you'd like to see perhaps a savoury follow-up to this, I do have an epic idea, but only if you want to see more of this. But folks, today I give you the every texture former muffin. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. That has truly blown my mind.